All right, hello and welcome back. Now that I've been kind of sitting on this list for a little while, I kind of happy where it is. I figure I'd throw something together and kind of go over some deck choices a little bit more, like start to finish, instead of just kind of throwing this up as an update. Um, Starting off, to get right into it, I guess. 22 units is pretty much a happy number to make sure you're consistently hooking throughout your deck. I was for the longest time just to start with the 2 drops, and I'll work my way up the curve from there. For the longest time, I had Honest Broker in this slot as a 2 drop. I'm only running 6 overall. Typically, that is because most of the game I'm not really looking to hook 2 drops into things. There's not a whole lot of targets, although I'm a little bit higher now with the extra fizzes. So you pretty much will just have Shadow Order Disciple because he's the GOAT and he can hook into basically anything else in the deck, aside from this one of Bunzo copy of Vi. But the other one is the other 2 drop that's been in my lists has been like a utility unit that I don't expect to hit with baited hook. It just needs to get in there and do something and help smooth out the game plan overall. And and for the longest time I was on Merchant because I felt like the extra dig from the loot effect on move was helpful to find hook more often. But in practice, I've gotten more and more frustrated with that card. It really only loots one time because we're not running like triple Ride the Wind and Flash and all that stuff that you see in Miracles. So he really just gets one loot and then dies, and that overall I think is less impactful than like a gold token, or if you were to run Soaring Scout, which you could do if you're on Dragon form like me. I think that is an alternative 2 drop you could run. Or uh, Trifarian Glory Seeker is another one that's kind of interesting because it can be a 3 might unit that hooks into stuff, and it's pretty consistently able to be that, given that we have 3 seals, 3 rushes, and 3 stack decks. That's a lot of cheap things to enable it. Um, but the gold does help. It's pretty impactful early game. Like if you turn to end up like getting hook into play and using it, or if you like stack deck and you see a Nocturne, from between like Candlelit, stack deck, or like some kind of early game hook, it really helps smooth out that curve and help you get to that like 5+ rune range. So that gold token is a lot more impactful than like, in my opinion, than a single loot activation from the merchant. So I've moved off of him onto this Honest Broker because of that, and I haven't missed him at all. So up to the 3 drops. Vanguard Captain is basically the workhorse of the deck. You go very wide with it. It helps grow Illaoi. It lets you, like, when people don't want to contest the battlefield or try to hold, you can just send the little shithead tokens in and conquer, and then leave these in the background for like a final push or to keep building up your base, right? And it just comes back over and over and over with Spectral Matron too. Um, so this card will never leave the deck. It's kind of the core of it. If you're not playing with this, you're not playing Hook. At least this version of Hook, as far as I'm concerned. Xin Zhao is very good. I don't necessarily want to see like multiples in the same game all the time. They can be kind of clog up your hand and board. Just, a lot of times you have so many units that accelerate isn't super important, but there are times in the game where you really want to have a unit that you can slap into play and accelerate right away, and he's very good at that, especially with your legend ability. Being able to attack in for 6 is really nice. He's also good to like plant onto a base with a Nocturne. For the turns that you're trying to hold, it makes your Nocturne more likely to survive, and if he does, then you have a ganking unit. So he's a very versatile kind of Swiss Army knife unit to have. I like 2. I don't think I like 3. That did feel like I had too many at times. Fizz is a recent card I've added back into the list. He was in there initially in early versions, and I've kind of come back to him because it's really hard to deny like Starcrossed and Fizz like in your deck list. Having those extra tricks and being able to like just pull yourself out of like shitty situations is really nice. And running like Starcrossed and Fizz in the same deck does just make Aurora matchups like a free win a lot of times. Like you a lot of times you Starcrossed a single Elder Dragon with the play trigger on the chain, and then the game's just over. It's just it. So that's pretty compelling. It makes things like Yi, if they don't have the defy, then you get to just like knock their big stupid unit off the battlefield and eat up all their tempo. And then there's also the games where like he just hits Lightning Rush and Stack Deck. Like those are really good. You can like late game hook into like Matron, get a Fizz back, hit a Ride the Wind, and then Ride the Wind to Matron into play. Like it does a whole lot. So yeah, obviously Nocturne, we're looking at 7, 5, 7, 8, 10 cards a turn. This guy is gonna be in play 1 to 2 copies every game. You're past like 4 or 5 turns, it's not uncommon to see 3. Spectral Matron, I think this card's pretty self-explanatory. It gives back all your busted 3-drops. It's just infinite value. It makes it funny to try and play against control players where they're trying to wipe your board and eat up your tempo, and then you just slap a Matron into play and your whole board's back. So really strong card. Illaoi is a really good top end. I'll talk about this in a second. Illaoi is a really good top end that you can hit off of your 2-drops when you just go from 2 to 4 or 2 to 6 energy, right? 2 to 6 energy units. With you just like skip a whole lot of turns getting this into play. It's really good with like the Ride the Wind too. If you move in, conquer, get a unit, Ride the Wind to the other one, get another unit, and then you're free to back off if you don't want to hold. Like, so there's some really cool synergies with Ride the Wind in her as well. The fact that she's base 4 might makes her fit super well into these like aggro strategy swarm hook decks. Vi is a card that I added very recently as well, primarily because Yi and Aurelia can suck it. I hate them. Aurelia less so. It's not as good into Aurelia. They like to hide in the back line and not commit to things, especially with the Kali and Flash, and they're not trying to hold battlefields. But it can really screw up combat math, and her ability can't be defied, and it's really good against Yi in particular. So I'm trying it out for now. I've been pretty happy with it overall, but it is a little greedy to have it because it's not super easy to like hook into if you need to, and you pretty much have to like drag it out with like Stack Deck or like get lucky to draw it or something like that. So that's pretty much where it's at. That's the units. And then moving on to spells, Lightning Rush and Stack Deck. Obviously they're in there for being busted cards, but the strategy is what I would want to talk about with these. Is you're not really grabbing units off of these. You don't want to. You want to try to avoid having a bunch of units stuck in your hand, right? Like, if I turn 1, see like a spell in 2 units, I'm almost always gonna grab spells, and that's what you should be looking for when you play them. Like either playing it to try and hit a Nocturne, or grab one of these spells, or like a Vi. Vi is probably the only one I would consistently grab off of there. So if you don't need a card, you don't, once you see Hook, once you see Seals, these are probably your top 2 picks off of these. And then once you have that, you want to make sure you have something in mind before you play them. You don't just throw them out there and spend them to spend them. Sometimes you will do that to use your runes more efficiently. But you do want to typically make sure that you're grabbing these and maybe be a little more cognizant with like Lightning Rush specifically, because it does put things into your trash, which if it's not a spell can become awkward if you bin like your last copy of Matron, because you have to grab a Star-Crossed in this matchup. So there is some thought processes that go into playing these cards. And then Ride the Wind is a new addition as well, and in this last version for me. I wanted to try it out as I've been trying to add, more flexibility and tricks and kind of things to not just be a deck that spams units and then tries to hold 1 turn with Kennen. Ride the Wind has a lot of applicable like silly tricks that you can do. Everybody at this point in the game, if you've played for a while, you know how good Ride the Wind is. It can be very frustrating and hard to beat sometimes when you're trying to make your 6 point and then they just move over and they either defend something unexpectedly or get a free point on your turn. Like, we get to do all those things. So that's really, really neat. Dragon form is really gross when you have tokens that you can turn into 5 might units and then conquer a battlefield with your assault 2, so you get to turn a recruit into 7 might attacker, and then crush their, you know, their premier, their strong units that they're trying to keep alive, right? You get to just crush something out of nowhere, and then after you've won a combat, you turn that into another good unit. Suddenly, my recruit got me a Spectral Matron, and it conquered a battlefield, and I don't have that unit trapped on the battlefield anymore. So Dragon Form is very good, and if you flow it, you get to empower Kennen. So like it does a lot of really good things. Being able to shrink a small unit, you know, even if you like grow an Honest Broker in the mid game into a 5 might unit, now I get to hook my Honest Broker that's conquered, you know, over a larger unit, and then I get a gold back on it. I get to refund my baited hook activation. So that is wonderful. A lot of good times. A lot of this card does a lot of great things for you. And then Starcrossed is like meta defining, right? If you can put it in your deck, it should be in your deck. I think in general. So no real secrets to this. We do get some extra value though too. Like sometimes you obviously you can bounce Fizz, but bouncing a Vanguard Captain or your Kennen back to hand or a Vi, these are all good things. Sometimes a Spectral Matron, like if you're playing against like Ezreal or someone that's gonna try and Thousand Tail Watcher you with like breath, you let the Watcher resolve, you let them go for the breath, and then as soon as they cast it, you respond, and maybe you bounce like Matron and their Watcher back to their hand. And now, sure, they can Watcher again next turn, but that breath is doing much less because you're just going to replay your turn and get all the stuff back that they killed with breath. So, a lot of cool plays and things you can do with this and get some extra value. Of course, we're on 3 seals because we're trying to spend yellow every turn. And a lot of our units are very pricey and expensive and have power costs. So we're not getting away from those. Even our spells are kind of pricey, right? Like these are important. Don't ask if you can play the deck without these. Just play a different deck. Going first, I mean not going first, going in the blind, Candlelit Sanctum's always going to be our first pick. You don't really want this post sideboards because you're just helping your opponents dig 2 cards a turn usually to find their sideboard cards and blow up your hooks more often. So don't play this after you sideboarded. Play this in the blind and then throw it away and forget about it. Very good at going in the blind because we're finding Nocturnes. It just helps you find those more often. It helps you dig for hook. It's, I'm convinced, the best blind battlefield. If you're going first, Triff Camp. It makes it very easy. Honestly, I think these could be interchangeable going first and second. Going first, this does let you hold pretty easily. Going second, this lets you conquer a lot easier, especially if you're into Yi. You can just kind of negate their whole legend ability. But going first, I am on Triff War Camp. Originally, this was a going second battlefield for similar reasons, that it's easier to recapture, but it's also just really strong going first. Like, it's hard to lose a game. You go first and you slap a Triff Camp. So, very good insurance. It makes it really easy to slap into a battlefield, and it makes it even easier to like hold it if you somehow lose tempo. Forbidding Waste is nice going second. A lot of things is it's easiest for us to go very wide, so we can negate this -2 pretty easily, slap a token, or my favorite lately has been slapping 2 Nocturnes on this with the Kennen. Kennen's gonna stun something, and it's a 3rd unit that you can flip. So it's really easy for us to kind of ignore this -2 if we really want to. But that is the main board. Sideboard is mostly, I'm pretty happy with it. Rebuke is in here for the like Master Yi, Aurelia, more so for Aurelia, I think. Matchups. Master Yi, we're going to be more towards like 2 Decrees, 1 Rebuke. For Aurelia, I'd probably be 2 Rebukes, 1 Decree. But that could be wrong too. I mean, this is, I think at some point, I might even just trim the Rebuke, and then Aurelia and Yi become a 2 Decree Rebuke 1 matchup. I almost never actually bring in the second Rebuke, so it could end up being like another Forge, or I could trim it plus the Shadows to have 2 Tentacles up from the deeps. There's a lot of ways you can flex with this, and there's a reason that almost every Kennen list has a different sideboard. There's a lot of options that we have. I think one of the options too was to make the second Rebuke into a Salvage, because these 2 things are wonderful against Aurora, obviously. We're probably the best deck to have this because we have Hook. So you can find it way more consistently than, even other Miracle Kennen decks are gonna find they're gonna find their salvages, right? So this card is like disgusting against Aurora. Recently was playtesting a bunch of matches against Jace Aurora with a friend. And even the games, like you want to try and slam it right before their Aurora turn. And that way, they can either try to like Deadly Flourish and get rid of it, or they can just like trade an Aurora away for it, right? And that's like the worst case scenario. It pretty much locks them out of playing it regardless. If they play the Flourish, they can't play Aurora, right? But even if they blow it up, we're on Spectral Matron. So there's a really good chance that they kill it, and then you just like hook into a Spectral Matron or play one from hand, and then you get it back from them, and then now you've gotten 2 turns where they basically haven't been able to do anything, and they still can't play Aurora. So it's really really good. It's if you're playing this list and there's a lot of Aurora players locally, it's free wins. Probably true for regular Kennen too. I think that's why Aurora is just not not performing very well. It's not showing up in major events in general. Kennen is just brutal and it's super popular. The one of Abandon, I had two for a little while, but you really just only ever want to bring in one if there's like key spells that you need to beat, like against Aurora. If you want to rewind any of the early game spells, like if you want to, what's this, the 7-drop one that's like predict 5, draw 2, it's like disgusting against that. If somebody's on Time Warp against Nasus, like if you have this against Nasus on their Watcher turn, where they tap out 8, untap 2, and they try to Bellows, and you just whoop, flip the Bellows back in their hand, and like you've just ruined their whole turn. Like that's really good. Um, yeah, I think initially, if I was expecting Lux players in the area, I would switch this over to this, but otherwise, I would just. I think this is probably a salvage. Honestly, I'm just gonna make that change now. Slot that in there. This is where I think I want to be. Um, and then yeah, Safety Inspector is another card you can bring in against Yi, Aurora, stuff like that. Shadows of the Past is a card that's new for me as well. Fizz. Fizz is the reason I'm on 2, and then like the fact that you can play this from hand, get 2 units back, and then Fizz, like it makes you just have infinite kind of resources against these like Ezreal list and Mel and anybody that's just trying to empty your board with Watcher and Bellows and stuff like that. Like I'm haven't had a chance to really get a lot of testing, but like this just seems like a ton of grindy potential for us. Um, if you're playing against like Yi and you want to bring these cards in, typically what I'll drop is like probably the Ride the Wind, Dragon Form, and a Star-Crossed. Like having 1 Star-Crossed, 1 Rebuke, and then 2 Imperial Decrees is kind of nice. Star-Crossed isn't as good against them because they're gonna have Defies. A lot of them still don't take them out, although I think if I'm on Yi, against me, I would board out Defy. Like they wouldn't be left in my deck. So I wouldn't expect to see them game 2 against a good Yi player, maybe 1 or 2 copies at the most. Um, Against Aurora, I've been taking out like both dragon forms. I think I leave this in and I'll drop 5, so it'll be 1, 2, 3, and then I'll trim like 1 Illaoi or maybe 2 because you don't really need to get over like big units. You just need to not let them have them. And I usually will bring in like 1, 2, 3, 4, I guess 6 now with the salvage. Cut 1, 2, 3. Maybe trim a seal 4, and then 5, 6. Because in those matchups, it's important just to be able to play the early game and get on the board and start scoring the points and making their stuff very awkward. Dragon form is pretty bad. Ride the Wind's okay. There's certainly turns where you can use a double conquer where you don't otherwise get to do it, but it's a little awkward because that game you need to play more reactive and always have Starcrossed available. So and even bluff it if you can, because like anything to make them not just like slam dragons at your face. But yeah, that's the current deck list and a lot of reasoning to it. I'm still working out my sideboard plans, but let's hop in a random match and see how things go. this. It's gonna be pretty grindy with Kaisa. But this is usually a pretty favorable matchup. They're usually beat out removal decks if they don't have a strong clock. Going second. I think I'm going to play the Broker. We expect our first unit to die, and we don't have baited Hook in this hand. I'm going to pitch the Xin Zhao, so we expect this to die. Like, at least I'm going to get the gold out of it. And then I'll be able to, like, steal and get back. Dragon. This. Okay, Lightning Rush is pretty good here. I hit a Nocturne. I'll find one. Yeah, we've got the Matron, so we already have a seal. We're gonna grab this. Won't. If I go 5, he shrinks with Smokescreen, then I get Giga punished. Let's just move in here. Try to go for the value play. Token. Start going wide. Much more happy with Dragon Form on a Recruit next turn. Damage on it. Not super great of a start, tempo-wise. Like, weren't able to conquer. He got the Candlelit Sanctum. Okay, very interesting. Still no Hook. Let's make sure our rune economy is fixed for all time. If I see a Hook on here, oh shit. Think. Okay, if I didn't see Hook here, if I didn't just cheat, ugh. Do I Lightning Rush to still dig for it? That puts me down to 3. Probably not. I'd probably just put this on top. Leave Fizz. Because then next turn I can play for it and put Fizz there. Definitely gonna pull off here. Does make our backline a little more vulnerable. I think Star Crossing Kaisa off of this is okay. I don't want to hide Kennen here because there's so many removal spells that make that terrible for me. And maybe it's still just the best play. Yeah, let's play this. 1, 3. Crash. Banish that. Power. And then there's a chance he's on turn to dust, so I'm just gonna hold up Star-Crossed if I need to. I'll only use it if he tries to like Bellows, you know, somehow kill my backline. And really only on this. I If he had 2 units, I would consider bouncing like a Ravenbloom student so that he couldn't double conquer this turn without accelerating. But even then, that's not a super great play. Okay, so we're gonna go for it, which means I can't. I want to. Weird. Okay. What? Okay, so he's going to temporal probably on this one. And if he does that, I can go 3 and then 4, 6, 7. Okay, let's send this into here. This has to be the temporal word. We'll give him assaults. I want to try and bait this out. 1, 2. Math bad. Have 2 damage there. Damage over. Okay, so then here. Oh shit, that heals. Okay, I don't want him to heal. So let's. This should be good bait for the Watcher. Do it. Bit awkward with if we bait it. Bait it. No. Interesting. 1, 5. I'll fucking kill myself. Anyways, recycle that. Empower this again. Alright. Stupefy was pretty good. Didn't work. Six. D. We want to do it. Ride the Wind's already on the bottom. We start with this. We could bounce Watcher and Kaisa if I hit Fizz. Xin Zhao's not the best here. I mean, he can conquer here, I guess. Five. One. Cycle here. Damn. Deck. 1. Play that. For recycling. We'll play that to hand. Cycle here. Okay. It might be okay. He has another Bellows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have another Vanguard Captain. Get even further beyond. Alright, this should outpace most things. We can't develop, so he's gonna move back. We should be able to hold next turn. Going for the hold. Wait. I'm assuming this is the temporal blink, so I can force him to do this, and then 6, 7. Yeah. It'd be 1 at 3. If he does that in response to shrink it, then I can blink it in response, or send it back to his hand, and then that clears both bases. Does get the option to replay. If I blink this, though, I can backline back too. I would need one more rune to do that. That would be 8, because that would be 6. We're not gonna double Fizz. This is gonna Fizz. We're gonna Star-Crossed and then hold. Okay, so we send this out. That's 1, 5. So that should be enough. 3. There should be another Xin Zhao. I guess we'd mold one. So and that there. And now we try to kill Kaisa. Yep. And now he's gonna blink. Here. now if he wants to stop the Conquer. We do this first because once we have control of this, he can't respond to me moving units here. So yeah, 12 runes next turn. I have to be careful. I don't really want to put 4 might units on the right because if he watchers, they all just die immediately. Matron's really nice to have. Okay, so let's go here. I don't like Watcher because he has Bellows. He can drink Illaoi super hard. So 1, 5. We'll play. It's better to play a Fizz, bounce this. Or then he can't accelerate. Like at Fizz, I can have a Fizz here, bounce the Recruit, which is gonna die. And bounce this. So I think that's probably better. Bounce this. Bounce this. Cycle. Let me shove a million Nocturnes on here. Hi to Kennen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he can't bellows the whole board. You want to leave 2 back here. I mean, I can power out a Xin Zhao next. I guess it's not a big. Sure. These are 1 might 2. Oh, this is probably best case scenario then. Not know what Fizz does. Hold. I think that is it. Now he doesn't have enough for bellows, so definitely bouncing that Poro was the better play. And we have the gank if these don't die. If he has bellows, it's definitely dead. Pretty good. Get Star-Crossed. All right, yeah. That is, sorry for coughing into the mic. That's the list. We came back from a pretty heavy tempo like loss there. Being able to clear both battlefields and then hold. Like we went off super hard on that last turn. That was pretty nuts. Hit all 3 Nocturnes, double Matron, set us up for a massive like, swing back on there. Just deck is capable of a lot of like massive tempo swings. I really like the new spells and the interactions, like having Starcross, Ride the Wind, Kennen. There's a lot of like good ways that you can hold a battlefield, and then Nocturne lets you like not just hold a battlefield, but like you're not just like trapped on one battlefield when you do hold it. Because now I can, even if you were to put something on here, I'd hold here. I'd have 4, 8, 12, 16, 18 that I can swing in to the other battlefield. What was it? 4, 8, 12, 16, 18, 20. And even more. And I draw Ride the Wind here, and then I get to move him with it and stun their unit. Like there was no like if you don't wipe this whole thing with like Bellows and Watcher, and even that doesn't win because like I have more than you can Bellows with 7 units here, 8 units here. And then I get to flip Kennen and stop the Watcher and hold. And then I have 2 units here to conquer on this side. So deck is very strong. I very like, and it is very fun. Thanks for sticking around, listening to me ramble. I'll put out another update if I make any major changes or if I just feel like streaming some more games. All right, see you later.